Hello, welcome back. Today in this video, we will see what is Azure File Storage and in what scenario or use case we will have to use Azure File Storage and how actually it is different from other storages in Azure. So let's learn in detail about this. Before proceeding, if you haven't subscribed for this channel, please do subscribe and also don't forget to press bell button for instant notification so that you'll get most updated videos that we are uploading. So let's get started. So before actually going to understanding Azure File Storage, so why we need Azure File Storage, right? So we will understand the problem, and because for anything, right, like any technology or anything that is built, so especially when you're talking about Azure, so if Microsoft is bringing something, so there should be a actually some problem behind it. So let us understand what is the problem or what is that Microsoft want to address, when they are thinking about file storage, right? So here, if you see there might be a scenario. Take for example, there is a shared location, shared storage. So this might be any Windows server or Linux server or any Mac kind of server, or it might be just a shared location. And the purpose of it, what is the purpose of sharing a location, right? So suppose you want to share multiple files, which are some project related files are there, and you want to share all those files across all the applications. This might be application 1, this might be application 2, and this might be a user, okay? And this might be on premise also, and this might be cloud, okay? So there are different use cases, but irrespective of that, so you want to share the file to all the users or applications or servers externally, but this is in on-premise. This is on the on-premise, and so there might be a scenario where you want to share some company-related policies to many people or many applications, or you want to share some configurations. Suppose there are 10 applications which are using the same configurations. So in that case, you want to have the centralized location to store all the configurations. So you can choose this as a shared location in that case. Okay. Basically, this is just a scenario like it is just like you want to share any file or folders, like you do a kind of a mounting in Windows, right? So you mount anything in Windows, and you can share that mounted mount point to any kind of users, or you can mount that mount point in your machine and access that particular complete drive in your machine, right? In your laptop or in your local machine. So it's very similar to that. Basically, so this is the requirement. So hope you understood the requirement. And now the problem is, so imagine you want to upscale this. So suppose there is storage, this is on-premise, right? So there will be limited storage anytime. So there might be, you want to store more amount of data going forward, right? So in that case, you need to scale this. So whenever you want to scale the on-premise, right? So definitely there is a cost that is associated with that, and there is a different kind of mechanism, a different kind of process you need to follow within the company. So to actually provision it, and you need to plan a lot for the increasing the storage of it. So that's the problem. So you cannot scale it on the fly. So you have to plan it, and then maybe you bring a different kind of external hard disk, plug it, or you increase the disk size by increasing some kind of hard drives. So there is a different mechanism for that, for increasing. But definitely there will be a proper plan required, and it takes time and energy and money for. So it is not straightforward process, right? So that is a time-consuming process when you want to do it. So which we're talking about scalability and security, right? So definitely, since it is on-premise, so if something it is not, it is both, right? It's a physical security and also the network security. So here, if the network is broken, so entire data will be compromised. If you're talking about 10 application referring the same data, if this is compromised, 10 application may go down in that case. So that's about security and maintenance and cost. So yeah, cost, as I was telling, right? So if you are increasing, then definitely, and if you it is not only the increasing upscaling scalability. Sometimes if you're not using that memory, you will you cannot, if you are using on premise, you cannot actually downscale it immediately. So which will actually you want to commit to that cost in this case where it's on premise. And there is a maintenance cost also, right? Like you want to apply some security patches, you want to uh, have some physical maintenance, all those things will come into picture. And also, there might be scenario where you directly want to migrate this data to say cloud, okay, or maybe Azure or AWS or Google Cloud. So this is not straightforward. If you have like thousands of file here, you cannot just plug it to Azure Cloud and the data will flow. That doesn't happen here. So these are the basic, I mean, these are the basic problems that file shared storage has. Okay. So this is nothing but just sharing the documents here. You want to share the documents and the configuration files, but nothing else. Okay. If you're using a SharePoint, so a SharePoint site, right? So it is just like what SharePoint is doing. So the same scenario, we want to keep the files, documents, key configuration file, and then refer it. But it is just an on-premise a shared location. That's it. Okay. So yeah, going to the next slide. So this is a problem, and we will see what is the solution for it. So solution is simple. We will use file storage, which is part of Azure storage account basically. So whenever we create Azure storage account, as we have seen queue storage, table storage, blob storage, we have option of file storage as well. So then what is the advantage of using file storage? Definitely, whatever problems we have seen in the previous slide, it will address all these issues. And apart from that, we will see what are the points, right? So access, since it is hosted in cloud, so there is no, it is completely managed. Managed in the sense Azure is responsible for maintaining it and having a security enabled. And if you want to scale it, Azure will take care of it. So in just click of, in just few click, we can just scale it up and scale it down. And data migration also, it is a very straightforward thing when you are using file storage. And so yeah, as I was mentioning, it is a managed storage. That means it is completely taken care by Azure. We just need to pay for what we are using. What is the cost of this, right? And access for on-premise or cloud. So how do we access this data? So we can access this data using on-premise systems. Maybe it is any kind of operating system, and basically we need to mount it. Okay, once we mount it, this storage to our local machine or local server or any other server. So once we mount it, right, so it establishes the connection, and then you can read it or write any files basically. And it supports the Linux, Windows, and Mac OS, which is sufficient. And so basically the main advantage or difference when we talk about blob storage and the table storage and queue storage compared to this is here we are exposing the data of this using a SMB protocol, which is server message block, or we can also use a network file system, which is an NFS. So if you are using, if you want to use, if there is a requirement of using, accessing the data via these protocols, so then this might be one of the best use case. So going to the next slide, which is kind of important to understand when to, because when we are talking about choosing the any services in Azure, when we are talking now storage solution in Azure, so we need to understand what exactly scenarios will come in, and then try to fit in whether and check whether this will actually serve our purpose. So as you can see here, when to choose file storage. So it is there are a few points or few cases we can consider the file storage when you want to replace. It can act as a replacement for file share servers. Suppose if you have a file share servers, as we were seeing in the previous slide here, right? So just having a file share server, so and everybody are accessing the data here. In this case, this is one of the use case, and there might be centralized location for configuration settings. Suppose there might be hundreds of applications, servers or applications for that matter, referring the configuration files from the centralized location. If you want to have that centralized location in one place, so then you can use file storage. And there might be some company policies, project documents, or some kind of standardization documents that you want to keep as a backup, or you can just keep it to share with multiple people across the organization. So then you can go ahead and choose file storage. And they want to share software tools, right? So softwares or tools you want to share across all the employees in the organization. So you are and file storage is the best case here as well. And as we've seen, so when we have a requirement of SMB and NFS protocol, definitely you can choose it. And there might be, end of the day, so it acts like a hard drive. Suppose extended hard drive, right? Suppose you want to, suppose your laptop is having 1 TB of hard disk space. So you want to have 10 TB, right? So in that case, you can create a file storage of 10 TB and mount it to your laptop. So in that case, your laptop will be having 10 TB plus 1 TB, 11 TB. So that's the whole summary of it. So that is the best example that we can give. So these are the different use case, right? So hope this is understood. So next, let us understand a very important thing, when not to choose. Okay, because this is also acts as an important thing, because we cannot straight away go for see some of the use case and then choose file storage. That is not ideal situation, because we might end up in choosing the wrong storage solutions. So let's understand when not to choose. So here if you see when there is a need of data analysis, so you are performing some kind of analysis on top of the data, or you are running some machine learning, IoT, data science kind of analytics, so then you cannot choose file storage. So you cannot choose file storage when you have a transactional behavior like database kind of things, where you are having a frequent writes and reads and read and writes, right? And you cannot have when there is a huge amount of data. So that means streaming, the data will be streaming continuously from many, maybe IoT device or some kind of device. So, and there might be ETL or ELT scenarios where you want to pull the data on a daily basis or on a particular schedule from one application to another application. So this is not suitable for file storage cases. And when you want to build a reporting or kind of a dashboards, business intelligence dashboards, so then you cannot choose this. And you cannot choose when you want to have a structured or semi-structured data. Semi-structured is still okay, but definitely structured data, if you want to have a structure, you can store it, but you cannot perform, as I was mentioning, analytics. Then there is no point of storing the structured data here. So I think, hope you understood. This is acts like a just a file storage. You are just dumping a file, like how you are dumping in your laptop machine. You create a folder and you dump your files, right? It may be a files of like many images, any videos or any documents. So you'll just dump there. Okay. So this is the case when not to use. But very important point, you might have a question that how different is that from the blob storage, right? Blob storage also we can dump the files and we can dump any kind of files and use it, right? So how different is that? The difference is definitely this one, as you was mentioning. When there is a need of SMB protocol and FS protocol, you have to choose for file storage. If there is no need, you can choose blob storage. And blob storage is kind of meant for streaming of data. Like it is meant for having a ETL or ELT kind of data, and it is meant for streaming large amount of huge volume of data into that. So that is the main advantage of blob storage. Okay, and in blob storage, you can choose to have a replication where you can replicate the data into multiple zones, multiple regions. So, and also you can, as you can see, right, in blob storage you can choose the access tiers. Whenever you're uploading a file, you can move the data from hot tier, cold tier, and archive tier. So there you can store the cost based on that. So that is the advantage of using blob storage, and it can be used for analysis of the data as well. So hope you are able to distinguish what is the difference between the different kind of storage and file storage, and when we want to go for the file storage. So let us see the short demo. As you can see, now we are inside the storage account that we have created, and similar to queue storage, table storage, and blob containers, we have file shares here. And I clicked on file share, and this opens up this window or blade where we can create a file share. Basically, we should give the name for file share. So I'll just give file share. So all should be small case whenever we're creating blob containers or file shares and queues. So everything should be in a small case. So I've given everything in small case, and then you can see I have already mentioned that we don't have the access tiers, right? But here these are not access. These are not the same access tier that we discussed for blob storage and basically files in blob storage, right? So there is a difference between that those access tiers and this access tier here. Here we have only two access tiers. Okay, so their hot storage means that the data is always available, and so the concept goes same here as well. Okay, but if you see, the archival storage is not available here. Only hot and cold tier is available, where if you don't want to keep the data, you just want to archive it, so then it goes to the cold storage. Definitely the cost will vary here. And also this is a transaction optimized. Definitely it is transaction optimized, but if you are using a transaction based on like a structured data, okay, so in that case this is not useful. That as I was mentioning in the slides when I was explaining, this is not meant for transaction. So when I meant transaction, it's for the database transactions, but it is still optimized for the transaction when you are doing some using some configuration files, and you are changing those configuration files through the application, and this can act as a backend. Okay, so in that case you can choose a different tiers here when you want to I mean, what is the different tiers you can choose here. But so as you can observe here you are having transaction optimized tier, hot tier, and cold tier, which are little different than what we discussed, hot, cold, and archive tiers for blob storage. So I'm just going with a normal one. Okay, and I'll just create. So if you can see here, the maximum file size is 5 TB. Okay, capacity, actually I was talking about capacity, that is 5 TB. And so I'll just go inside this, and once we go inside this, we can create a folder. You can we can create a file or upload a file basically. So I'll just directly I can upload a file. I can also create multiple folders, subfolders. Okay, so I'm just creating a folder here. Yeah, once the folder is created, I can go ahead and upload a sample file here. Yeah, I'll upload this sample file. Yeah, I would rather choose some image file to be to make it simple, and I'll just upload this. So now, as you can see, it is uploaded successfully, and we have a folder created, and inside that folder we are having a this is a file share, and in the file share we have a folder, and inside a folder we have uploaded a file. Okay, and if you can see the properties of this file, right? So it will basically show you. So now that you can see the URL, right? So I'll just try to go and access this file using this URL, but I'm not able to access this because so this will not directly allow me. Okay, like blob storage, in the blob storage, as we saw right in the previous video, we were able to directly access the file using this URL, but here in this case it is not straightforward. Okay, we have to follow some steps. Let us see what are those steps. For that, you have to come to the root of this file storage, and as you can see, this is a root of this file storage, and I need to click connect here. So once we click connect, so you can see what actually you want to connect. So which is the operating system you want to mount to this location and access these folders, right? So I'll just use Windows, because I have a Windows machine, and it will give you this kind of a connection details, connection command basically. Now in my machine, sorry. So in my machine, I'll just have to open PowerShell, and I need to run it as an administrator. So once I have this open, I'll just try to paste this and click enter. So it is waiting for response. However, I'm getting an error here because my organization is blocking port 445. Also, if you can see, the same error is given here. So this is most possible error, and they have given the link. So if you open this link, so basically you will be able to find out what is the alternate way to actually access this. Otherwise, you can ask the internet IT team, basically organization IT team, to unblock 445. And then if you run this command, you'll be able to see the newly mounted drive. Suppose this Z drive, what we are seeing here, right? So if you can see the whenever I click on connect, so this is a Z drive. So the Z drive will be mounted to your Windows machine. Similar like C drive or D drive will be having. There will be new Z drive which will be acting as a mounted drive, and you will be able to add read file or write file from there. So yeah, I mean, so you can just go through this other alternate option to access this, which is alternate for accessing via 445. We can bypass this one. So just check this, and I hope this was useful. Thanks for watching.